To preview what's coming on this weekend, and Arsenal face Newcastle after a disappointing week that saw them lose top spot, while Newcastle are winless in 3 and the pressure is growing on Eddie Howe. Let's hear from both managers.
I don't know, it's 5 games to go, 4 weeks, 2 big competitions to play for and everything to play for. I mean, if somebody would have told us at the beginning of the season, we would have taken it, and we are so excited. And tomorrow is game 1.
We're all feeling that pain at the moment. You know, it's been a difficult period for us. I think we're very determined to try and put that right. We're very determined to try and win as many games as we can. Prided ourselves on, historically, even if we lose a game, fighting to the end, giving everything to try and get a result. I feel the players are currently at the moment maybe lacking in a little bit of confidence. We've lost a little bit of our normal regular flow and rhythm. The next game is always an opportunity to, whatever moment you're in, to prove yourselves all over again, most importantly to ourselves. That we owe it to everybody connected with the club, to ourselves, to commit everything that we have to try and get a result.
Yeah, very fascinating one. Can Arsenal get back to winning ways? Interesting to hear Arteta saying this is a new league now, and this game against Newcastle is game 1.
Yeah, I think sometimes as a manager you have to sort of prioritise things and say, well, hang on, you know, we've been ahead of City have been chasing us. All of a sudden that dynamic's changed a little bit. The pressure has almost gone back onto City now. They're the ones in pole position. And Mikel, you keep trying to reinvent the fixture, if you like, and they'll go into this game at the weekend, got an opportunity to go clear at the top of the table again. And if you're going to pick a team to play at home, Newcastle, their away form's been not great this year, and collectively they're not playing particularly well, very low on confidence. We saw that from Eddie Howe's interview. They're a good team to play at the moment.
Yeah, has the momentum completely shifted after that massive game at the Etihad last week?
I don't know. I don't think it has, because you know what? Arsenal showed they could compete with Man City. That's the best Arsenal have played over the last 4 or 5 weeks. Listen, when you've got a player like Turkey, you can do that. Sit down one of the best defenders like Gabriel in the Premier League, and it's a big mistake from Donnarumma. But I still think Arsenal, with the way that they go from now to the end of the season, they can perform like they did in this game, because they created chances. Here, Eze's unlucky, no back lift. Donnarumma was beaten, and it was just the timing. And in situations like this for Havertz, it's a big opportunity, it's a big save. But I think in moments like that, if you want to win the Premier League title, you have to be clinical in these moments. And then obviously, you know, City are just clinical, and you give this man half a chance, Haaland, 9 times. I think the chance at the end is the golden opportunity. But that's Gabriel, and so this is what I'm saying. Arsenal can take positives with the way they were creating chances, and that chance there from Havertz, you're thinking just hit the target. But you knew how big it was, the result for City, the way they celebrated. But there was a lot of positives in this game from Arsenal that they can take moving forward.
Stuart?
I think if you take that performance in isolation, that was an outstanding performance. Yeah. That result could have gone anywhere. Yeah. Arsenal might even say, hey, in fact, we created better chances than City on their own pitch. But you've got to bulk that to the fact of they lost at home to Bournemouth. So it's building up the pressure, if you like, on Arsenal. But as a one-off performance, I thought it was a very good performance away. They've got to build on that performance to get the result. That's more important this weekend.
Yep. Yeah, let's look at their last couple of results for Arsenal. You know, they went so long with only 3 defeats, but in their last 6, they've lost 4 and won only once, and that was in the Champions League against Sporting. You already mentioned the Bournemouth game, back-to-back defeats against Manchester City, losing in the Cups as well. There's a feeling that they are really struggling, and it's the worst time of the season to do that.
Oh, it certainly is. As I say, you win a game like we've just seen with Forest, and everything's brilliant, rosy. All of a sudden you lose a bit of form at this stage of the season, which they have, and all of a sudden they're not scoring as freely. You can see that on the goals for column in these last few games. They haven't scored more than 2 games in any one game in the last 6 games there. So, and for a side that look as though they're imperious defensively, they're also shipping goals as well. So they need to change that, and very quickly.
That set-piece threat of theirs, which was so pivotal to their early season success and their run, that's changed a little bit. I don't think they've scored a set-piece goal since Chelsea in March.
Yeah, it's been difficult. Saka's been injured. He puts great delivery in. Declan Rice is still putting good delivery. But I think people are thinking now your threat is Gabriel. Let's mark Gabriel. If we take Gabriel out of it, who else is your biggest threat? Gabriel was causing all kinds of problems. So, yeah, the set pieces have been a bit frustrating for Arsenal. But you got to find different ways to win. You can't just be relying on set pieces, even though many were saying they're going to win the title on set pieces. Find different ways to win. And as I said, saw good signs on the weekend, but they need to take this into Newcastle now.
Just let's get your perspective from a striker's point of view. Starting Kai Havertz and then Gyökeres being on the bench.
Yep.
How would you play them going forward? Who would you choose?
No, I think it was the right decision. I think Havertz is a very good player. I think Gyökeres has struggled, especially in the big games. That's what you were brought for, the big games. I'm not being disrespectful to the teams that he's scoring against, because it's still hard to score goals in the Premier League. But I thought Kai Havertz in this game, I know he missed a big opportunity at the end. I thought he caused Man City a lot of threats, and it was a different kind of game where Gyökeres is a different player. What he wants is space in behind. There was no space in behind, and he's not going to beat young Kusanov in a race. So I think it was the right thing to play Havertz. But there'll be games, won't there, Stuart, where they can rotate and play Havertz. He can play in the 10. He's got a lot of options, and that's good for Arsenal.
Yeah, and they're going to need them on this running. You know, without a doubt, they're going to need them to. And obviously, they're at the back end of the Champions League as well. So they've got a lot of football to play between now and the end of the season. And whichever one of them's on form, or alternatively, you want to play them both together, by all means do so.
Yep.
Let's look at Arsenal's top scorers so far. I mean, and this was in the Premier League against City's top scorers. I mean, literally half. Gyökeres and Haaland, it's chalk. And although the next best is Foden on 7, O'Reilly 5, Reinders 5, and Semenyo as well. And then you've got Eze and Saka on 6, Trossard and Zubimendi on 5. But the big difference is Haaland.
I think if you're going to win the Premier League, you've got to have a striker that's 15 to 20 plus. I really do. Takes all the pressure off your defensive work. Arsenal are built on a solid defensive back line and defensive back unit right through their team. If they could add at the front end of the team this summer, maybe in the transfer market, which they've tried to do with Gyökeres, he's got 12 goals for you. He's also got probably a vast amount more goals as well. I think he's got 20 odd in total, which isn't a bad return for him. But in the Premier League alone, you want somewhere in the region of 15 to 20 goals if possible.
Yeah, he's different, Haaland. No, there's no Haaland around in the Premier League. And what closest to him, who can be that level, is Harry Kane. And obviously he's doing well up by him. He's a different kind of striker. So Gyökeres is doing okay at the moment, but no one's going to compete to Haaland. I'm surprised when in the next one that is Phil Foden, who's not played a lot of football. And when we talk about Ryan Cherky, who's been outstanding, he probably needs to add more goals to his game as well.
So while there's pressure on Mikel Arteta in what he's called now a new title race, there's also pressure on the manager in the other dugout on Saturday. That's Eddie Howe. Is it full-blown crisis for him now?
I wouldn't say full-blown crisis, because I still think the job Eddie Howe's done there has been fantastic, getting him a trophy for many years. But this season's been a disappointing. I think 11 games, only 3 wins. It's nowhere near good enough. And Eddie Howe knows that at the moment. I think the Isak saga didn't help them, and I think the recruitment that they've done recently. But that is relegation form at the moment, and nowhere near good enough. He knows that, Eddie Howe. But sometimes I'll say, when you're making a decision, be careful what you wish for, because I still think he's a very good manager.
What do you think, Stuart?
It would worry me if they decided to say, right, let's move Eddie on. Yeah. Who's going to come in that's done a better job than him? He's got silverware for the first time in a multitude of years at Newcastle. I think the fans, the groundswell of the fans up there really like him as a manager. I think he's an outstanding manager, because he's done it consistently over many years at different clubs. So what he needs to do is probably get to the end of this season, reset, have a look at his squad and say, right, where do we need to improve this?
Yeah, while they've also not really been scoring freely, Newcastle, their big problem has been in defence. They've made a couple of big defensive errors the last few games.
Yeah, the last few games they have, I don't know whether their confidence has been eroded by what they've done at the front end of the pitch. Valtamilda's not been a massive success. They've been a bit disappointed in that front. They've always, when I've seen Newcastle in their pomp over the last 2 or 3 years, they've been absolutely magnificent defensively, aggressive press from the front. The midfield three of Bruno, Joe Linton and the like have been outstanding. They've lost a little bit of that aggressiveness. It was an old school defence. Look at this poor defending by Howe. He's shown him too much of the wing and opened the goal up at all. And there's not people getting close to the ball in any way, shape or form. You know, there's too many people second best to it in the 6-yard box, and you'll concede if it's like that.
Yeah, they've been looking quite vulnerable defensively.
No, they have, but they've had loads of injuries at the back. They can't get their best back four. Like Livramento's picked up, he comes back, picks up an injury. So they have struggled massively, even centre half. And you know, when you keep chopping and changing centre halves, that means you're not playing well at the moment. But one thing I will say is Bruno Guimaraes will be back soon. Hopefully, he's been training all week. He is their best player, in my honest opinion. He's captain fantastic and he leads by example, and I think it's a massive boost to have him back, because Joe Linton's suspended, they'll have Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes, but I think he's a fantastic player. And I honestly do think they'll lose a lot of players in the summer, but I think he's one that will more than likely stay at that football club. But I think he's a terrific player. They're used to it.
He's a talisman for the club, like you say. He really is. I think the rest of the squad look to him to influence things. As you say, he's got another side to the game than what you think he has. You know, that tackle proving that. He'll score, he'll assist. But more importantly, when you've got your teammates look at you and it builds confidence in them's a big thing.
Has he had to up his goal scoring this season, given Newcastle's problems in that area, as we look at their win percentage? I mean, 52.7 with Bruno in the team, without him just 12.5.
That says it all. So that says it all. You could leave it there. Me and Stuart don't have to talk, because that sums it up. But we have to talk, because we can't be silent for the whole show. But no, he's so key. He's so key to whatever Newcastle want to do. And you just alluded to it, and Stuart did, Julia. The front players are not scoring, so the onus is on him to deliver. And if Newcastle are struggling and go behind, who's going to drag them out of the mire? It's always Bruno. So it's so key to have him from now to the end of the season. And he might play a big part tomorrow against Arsenal. Who knows?
Yeah, critical game coming up.
Well, let's get to that title race then. With 5 games remaining, Man City and Arsenal are level at the top of the table on points and goal difference. City lead on goals scored, but it really couldn't be any tighter. Mikel Arteta's side take on Newcastle tomorrow night, while City are busy on FA Cup business against Southampton. And Jamie, I've got to bring it up, because obviously there was that amazing interview you did after a game. I think you said that, you know, Arsenal, you can see them winning it by 10 points clear. I believed in it at that point.
Sorry, mate.
No, I know. But
blame me. It's not the players' fault. It's not me. I thought they would. I genuinely thought they would.
Are you still sticking with that? How do you view it now?
Yeah. Look.
You can be honest. How do you?
I did feel that at that time. I watched the game. I think City had drawn at Nottingham Forest, and I thought, no, this team now are ready to win. I think I go back to a couple of things. I thought the Carabao Cup final. I think playing. I mean, I don't know if you agree on this, but I thought playing Kepa for me just was the wrong message at the wrong time when you've got to go win a game. I didn't like it, and I said it at the time, and I think since then things have unravelled a little bit, and there's been a few things that I think now have to, maybe they've got to a point where they've just got to have a go. They've just got to let all that fear just somehow go and just start to play and look like they're enjoying this, because they're not enjoying this title race. Now, we were just talking about when we watched Cherky play and we'd watched Manchester City this last 8-9, Cherky's enjoying this. He's relishing it. I'm not seeing one player in that, you know, maybe Max Dowman has showed it against Everton, but nobody really in that Arsenal dressing room is looking like, yeah, I'm taking it. I'm enjoying this. They're not. They look like they're finding it really difficult. But if they win tomorrow, that can start to change.
I was going to say, Stuart, how do you find that as a player, like to just go, you know, relax? It's kind of like harking back to what you were saying earlier on, that when you're in that position with Leeds, you're waiting to almost that point comes where it's a clean slate.
Yeah. So I was saying earlier, obviously we were with Leeds and we were 14 points clear, and it was almost like we had to lose that to realise what we actually had, and whether that be pressure or not, I don't know. Now it's a different pressure for Arsenal. They're now chasing, so I think obviously it's a shootout, but they've got to play it in a controlled way as well. But Arsenal have got talent. They're not here at this stage of the season for no reason. They're a good side, and sometimes you have to lose everything to realise what you had. And I still back them.
Yeah.
I stand
It's
by
hard.
that.
It's a
I think-
flip- it's a
I think
toss of a coin,
The
do
next,
you think?
the next two games, obviously, if they can win them, but as Mark said earlier, if they drop points in them two games, then it's a different. Because I think then they play again. So City catch them up, and then they play before City again. So psychologically, if they can win them games, it's huge.
Well, the Opta supercomputer does have Arsenal still at 65%.
Yeah, but I know. Don't keep this under your hat. Do you know who that does it up to? Him. So yeah,
I'm there every day.
Yeah,
clicking all the
every day,
things.
clicking.
Let's just have a quick look at the form run that we've seen so far. We've got a little graphic of this. I mean, Mark, talk to me about what your thoughts on this, because first 49 games here, 3 defeats. Right, this is during a period where I think it was in October. Arsenal conceded 1 shot on target throughout October. Then the last 6 matches, it's 4 defeats.
Yeah, they were flying, weren't they? I mean, I think they just played with less fear. They just let it go, like Jamie was saying, trying to go out there and trying to relax a little bit and go, right, believe in what you can do. And I think they did that in the first sort of 3 quarters of the season. And the minute it started you could see the finish line. You could see that you've got this buffer, and all of a sudden you drop a point, and then you drop another point, and then all of a sudden that just starts to get close, closes down. City keep winning, and it's almost like, oh, here we go again. And a lot of people, I think it's this whole momentum thing for everyone. It's difficult for a team that over the last couple of years have finished second. Yeah. And all of a sudden you feel like, oh no, is it going to happen again? And that's where they've got to dig deep. Now, like we said earlier on, we talked about the fact that now Arsenal are in a position where they now are kind of chasing. Yeah. The pressure's maybe a little bit off them, tiny bit. Now they can play with a bit more freedom, because most people are kind of going, oh, well, City are going to go win it now. So Arsenal can actually let go a little bit.
Do you think, Jamie, there was a whole thing around Arsenal's form in April? It was always a thing. I mean, is that...
What's the thing, obviously?
That's
not a coincidence.
But where's that coming from, and how can a side change that almost?
Well, that's pure fear. That's not coincidental that we go, okay, April, the Pepsi don't all feel that well in April. No, that's the business end of the season. Yeah. That's what always Alex Ferguson used to talk about, squeaky bum time. Yeah. And that's when you really need to stand up. And I totally get it, because it was the accusation of bottling it. Yeah. Now, I don't really subscribe to that. I think because it's hard. Football is tough, but I think it's just about staying calm. And it's like Manchester City are so good, and it does feel, for whatever reason, that the fact that it is Arsenal, and you see Haaland with Arteta and stay humble, it feels like it even means more to Man City. Yeah. I know, and I think Pep, I know they're friends, but you can see Pep even wants it more. With Liverpool last year, and it was obviously different, but they've just got to find it within themselves. And I don't know how you contain that, or how you find that calmness. It comes a lot from the manager. Of course, the fans are anxious; they want to win this title so badly. But I think Mikel also has to act in a calmer manner. I watch his demeanour on the sideline, and there's no doubt he's an elite coach. Yeah. Would I like my manager jumping up and down in and out the technical area? No, I wouldn't. Yeah. I want someone to I don't really want too much information when I was playing. I like to think I could handle most situations. A lot of the players play for Arsenal because they're good enough.
Yeah.
Mikel,
Hello.
Can we start with any fresh injury concerns, if any, after the City game?
Yeah.
Have you got any?
So no, and Bukayo probably is going to be in the squad. So good news.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And what about Ricardo Calafiori and Jurrien Timber?
Probably in the squad as well. Jurrien not in the squad.
Huge boost then for you ahead of this one. But, okay, so you said last week, can I just go back to last week, that the reaction of the players in the dressing room, they felt even more convinced that they can create something special and win this league. What did you see then and this week that maybe has reinforced that idea within yourself?
The same, that the energy rates, the belief rates, I think the clarity, what we have to do, it cannot be better. 5 games to go. Tomorrow, game 1, all in. Let's go for it.
The latest Opta supercomputer results are out.
Okay.
They say that Arsenal have a 65.51% chance of winning the title. What is Mikel Arteta's supercomputer saying?
Win tomorrow. Game 1, win, and then we will be much closer.
Do you have that? What's the belief in your supercomputer saying?
In the computer, I have belief in our players, in our people, and the willingness that we have to achieve what we want.
Can I ask you about you described this run-in now as effectively a new Premier League season. Do you feel with this new season you've got to be perfect?
I don't know. It's 5 games to go, 4 weeks, 2 big competitions to play for, and everything to play for. I mean, if somebody would have told us at the beginning of the season, we would have taken it, and we are so excited. And tomorrow is game 1.
If both teams were to do it and win all of their remaining 5 games, it's going to come down to goal difference, maybe even goals scored. With that in mind, does that change any part of your approach and maybe team selections as well, because of the fact that you might need to score more goals than just simply winning a game?
Yeah, we don't know. That's we are just talking about a lot of possibilities. The first thing that you have to do is the right to win the game, and then win it, and then depending on how the situation is, you can think about something else. But the priority is that you have to be better than the position and the right to win the game and win it. That's the first thing.